Hello people, this is a video example of trying to write a sweaty that has a focus on form. Now in order to focus on form in narrative, you actually need of course to refer to the words used, and that is going to have some implicit language focus as well. So a focus on form often also needs to have something of a focus of language in it as well, although of course the balance needs to tend towards form later on in the sweaty. This video will show that, and then the other video will also contain some explanations. So, okay, so in this video we're going to talk about some of the choices that have been made here in this form-based sweaty. So the question is, how does the form of the extract reflect the desperate hope of Robbie? Sorry, that's computers. And again, the idea behind it is that the form reflects a hope that is unpleasant, perhaps desperate. And the initial statement I suggested was that Robbie's undulating narrative, the fact it changes, reflects how his desperate hope for survival is coloured by his love for Cecilia. And actually, my statement, I needed to change this, because the imagery that he uses that colours what he says is actually this fantastical country house images of swarming bees and little valleys, this kind of Little Englander, delightful pastoral images. And when we say pastoral, you should also be aware that it suggests a genre of thinking and of fiction and of art that would see nature and the world as being friendly and concerned and of human morality. So elsewhere here we talk about pastoral images. I think, is it near the end? It is, but we'll find that where we do. We contextualize the analysis here by referring to several paragraphs relate to Robbie's thoughts about survival. And we know that we're going to use the drained and dreary marshes and the ribbon road. We know that these are journey-based images and metaphors. We also know that they talk about alliteration and assonance. And if I was being more precise here, my own bubble would be that I would want to talk about how the alliteration makes these experiential. The form on the choice alliteration allows us to experience the drudgery and the trudging through the desperate experience of the Dunkirk retreat. Again, the fantastical descriptions are important. The word fantasy or fantastical means like fake and imaginative, and this is quite important because these are part of his imagination here, the swarming bees. Again, a bubble could be that if I was a bit more on the ball, I can maybe liken the swarming bees to the imagery of the soldiers retreating, of how his imagery of the soldiers retreating is transmogrifying into a more pastoral image, reflecting his desire to love and see Cecilia again. What's very important here is that we have this hedging of yet, so that his hope is both naive yet hopeful. And the hedging there is going to be helpful to you. We then talk about these pockets of pastoral imagery. And again, pastoral imagery is a nice relation to genre here. And then it's this final sentence that is really key for us, where we're bringing on some of the context of the war, World War II. And whilst it's at the end of the paragraph, it's attempting to be more than a bolt-on. So it links itself by referring to a contrast in tone. Then has our analytical verb here. So rather than suggest, we're saying that this contrast in tone is going to underscore the desire McEwen to expose the surreal experience of war. And that is the piece of context that we are going to apply here. And we're going to extend it somewhat by making reference to the upper middle class soldiers who would have experienced a Dunkirk retreat as a profound challenge to perceived social order and natural harmony. And again, by saying perceived social order and natural harmony, we're going to have a much more precise approach to Sweaty. So that would be my bubble. Ultimately, though, this piece of context applies, I think, quite precisely with the desire of a similarly middle upper class mind, that of Robbie, although of course his roots are not entirely that, and about how Robbie's form here is becoming surreal in the same way that the upper middle class officers would have distinctly found the challenge to order in Dunkirk a surreal experience. So I hope you find this useful, and I hope that you can create now your own form Sweaty. Watch this again as you need to. Good luck and enjoy.